Back in July in his native Toronto, Paul Tracy scored an emotional victory, ending a 6-race slump with his 4th win of the season and firming up his points lead in the Champ Car World Series. In the 5 races that followed, parity and the pitfalls of the world's most demanding form of auto racing turned the fight for the championship into a 3-man race. Now entering the home stretch, the drama is just beginning. Tracy's last 5 races have produced mixed results, with victories in Vancouver and Mid-Ohio. But a crash in the rain at Road America dropped him from the top of the standings. Brazilian Bruno Junqueira won that race to top the points for the first time in his career. But he followed with a pair of poor finishes to fall back in the pack. Then scored a win 3 weeks ago in Denver to draw within striking distance of Tracy. While Michel Jourdain Jr., always the model of consistency, has put his car in the top 6 in 4 of the last 5 races. And a pair of wins has put the Mexican driver a close 3rd in the title chase. Now, with just 4 races remaining, a marathon season has been transformed into a sprint to the finish. Each driver knowing that one small mistake could ruin his shot at a $1 million title. Today, the streets of sun and fun-loving Miami, Florida will provide the backdrop for the race that will decide who's hot and who's not at championship time. Bayfront Park, nestled between Biscayne Boulevard and Biscayne Bay in downtown Miami, Florida, is the site of round 16 of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford for 2003. Welcome to the Grand Prix Americas. Well, autumn is officially underway, but you'd hardly guess, judging from the weather conditions here in Miami. Temperatures approaching 90 degrees, very high humidity. This is going to be a very difficult and pivotal round of the 2003 championship here on CBS. Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha. A year ago on this very racetrack, Cristiano D'Amata completed a dominated season by winning the championship with 3 races to go. Flash ahead 1 year, and we have no fewer than 5 drivers still alive in the championship with those same 3 races remaining. Now, just ask our points leaders about the ebb and flow of outrageous racing fortune, and they'd be the first to tell you that anything can happen here in Miami. How about Paul Tracy? Friday's early morning practice in a gentle rain, he hit a diabolical bump and crashed into the trackside wall. In dry running and qualifying that afternoon, he somehow ran only 2 of his 3 allowed laps, a humiliation for the points leader. In final qualifying, he set the session leading time, but then 4/10 up on his previous best effort, he threw it all away within spitting distance of the checkered flag and was furious with himself afterward. Let's meet him now with Calvin Fish.
Well, Bob, we're down at crunch time in this championship. We're on the grid here. Paul Tracy's trying to stay cool. It's not been a smooth weekend for you, mate. Can you recover today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's we're starting 5th. We're not far away from the front, so I think we have a good chance. The car was good this morning in warm-up. We were 2nd quickest, so it's a long race, a long physical race. It's very hot, so being there at the end is going to be important.
6 wins this year, but every win has come from the front row. The man who's closest to you in the championship, Bruno Junqueira, starts on the front row. What is your strategy today? Do we see a PT first lap like we normally see? You're going to be conservative?
I think I'll just drive the way I always do, and if I can get a couple positions, that's great. I think Bruno's in a little bit trickier of a situation than me because he's got Adrian, who wants to win a race this year and going into Mexico, and you got Servia, who's trying to keep his ride for next year. So they're both very hungry, and he's sandwiched in between them. So.
All right, PT, good luck. The bad news for PT is his teammate who helped him out in Denver starts all the way back in 18th spot. Bob.
All right, thanks very much, Calvin. Now, Paul Tracy hasn't been alone in his troubles. How about second in points? Bruno Junqueira. Same Friday morning practice in the rain. He crashed at the identical spot Tracy did. In qualifying, Friday's opening round, he was the fastest car on track and picked up a bonus championship point. Then yesterday in final qualifying, he overstepped the bounds and crashed heavily. But the car was repaired and will be ready to start today's race. Look at that impact for Bruno Junqueira. He's standing by with Brian Till.
Well, last season, Bruno Junqueira's childhood friend, Cristiano D'Amata, beat him to the championship in this very car. But, Bruno, you've got the championship-winning car. You got a front-row start. That's got to bode well for you today.
For sure, and that's really important, this race for us. And all the Pacific Air and Yamaha's team are doing a great job, and I hope we can do a good race and do what Cristiano did last year, win the championship.
Well, the pressure of the championship, 17 points to PT. You got 4 races to go. Can you do it?
Yeah, sure, I can do it. I believe myself, and I'm going to start to do it today.
Well, he's got the confidence, guys. We'll see if he's got the broad shoulders to carry him to the championship. Bob?
It should be a great race, Brian. Here's a look at the 5 drivers still alive in the championship and where they will start the day. Paul Tracy will start from 5th, Bruno Junqueira 2nd, Michel Jourdain Jr. 6th, Sebastian Bourdais 4th, just behind his teammate, and Patrick Carpentier, Tracy's teammate, as Calvin Fish mentioned, had problems in qualifying. He will start all the way back in 18th. Joining me now, as always, racing champion Tommy Kendall. And Tommy, between Paul Tracy and Bruno Junqueira, we have a great contrast in style.
Well, we really do. But to understand the pressure they're under, you have to understand the differences between auto racing and every other sport. We don't have a Super Bowl. We don't have majors. The whole season leads to the one big prize, which is the championship. Now, they're both chasing the same prize, but their styles could not be more different. With the heat here, it's not, I don't think, inappropriate to make a cooking comment. If their styles were put in the kitchen, Bruno would be working on this roast all day long, fine-tuning it, whereas Paul Tracy would take a flamethrower to the Thanksgiving turkey. Just full speed ahead, everything he's got. They're very close. Paul's a little bit ahead, but either way, the heat is on at this point in the season.
And, of course, we have spoilers in the championship, or potential spoilers, we should say. Sitting on the pole, proven winner, Adrian Fernandez, the only owner-driver in the series, always quick on the road courses, but I don't think anybody was looking for Fernandez to do what he did yesterday in final qualifying, go quicker than anybody. Let's meet him now with Calvin.
Well, Bob, as TK mentioned, it's all about staying cool today, and that's exactly what Adrian Fernandez was yesterday, putting his car on the pole position. And Adrian, you're not in the thick of this championship battle. You're 7th in points. I assume all you're going for today is victory.
Absolutely. You know, the car has been very consistent. The crew's been very consistent in everything we've done this weekend, so I feel very confident. Obviously, pit stops and other issues can come in play, but we feel pretty comfortable to be able to pull it out. Obviously, the weather is one of the biggest problems. It's very hot, it's very humid, so I'm just trying here to sweat as least as possible so then I can get it a go.
He's looking good right now, very relaxed. He's going to be going for career victory number 9 today, Bob.
That he is, Calvin. Now let's talk about the rookie battle. We could see the championship for the freshmen clinch today. Sensation Sebastian Bourdais of France has a 61-point lead over Englishman Darren Manning. If that number is 61 points by the end of the day, Bourdais will clinch the Jim Truman Rookie of the Year award with 3 races to go. What kind of a season has Sebastian Bourdais had? Easily among those of the top rookies of the last decade. Going back to 1993, Nigel Mansell won the overall championship with 5 wins. Same for Juan Pablo Montoya in 1999. Sebastian Bourdais will not clinch the overall championship, but he has still had an absolutely spectacular season. Brian Till is with him.
Well, Sebastian Bourdais, your rookie season has been compared to the likes of Juan Pablo Montoya and Nigel Mansell, and that's pretty heady company.
Yeah, for sure. To be compared to such as guys, it's pretty amazing. But you know, I'm just trying to perform well, and obviously with this McDonnell Lily car and Yamaha, we're doing a good job. So, you know, we're just gonna try to keep up and finish up front and do what we have to.
Well, obviously we know you're a racer and you want to win races. You start today just ahead of Paul Tracy, behind your teammate Junqueira, who's going for the championship. Is it about winning races for you right now, or is it about helping Bruno win the championship?
It's always about trying to win races. Obviously, different parts of the race. We'll have sometimes where I will have to push, and sometimes I will have maybe to back off a bit. But you know, first is the target is to be up front, to try to win the race, and if there is a point that of interest for the team, you know, we will do that after that.
Well, that's what we said, guys. He's a champion. He's a race winner. He wants to win races. If it comes to protecting his teammate, he will.
Like a Saturday night dirt oval, but with a lot more corners and pavement, TK.
Yeah, it's only 1.15 miles, the shortest road course that Champ Cars have ever raced on last year, even shorter than last year. But there is more than enough challenge for these guys. Heading down to turn 1, the biggest braking zone, probably the only realistic passing zone. That doesn't mean it's the only place they'll try, but that's where it has to get done. 2, 3, 4, and 5 around the fountain there. Some medium braking in turn 6, then into the fast stretch, through the tree cover, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then into a double hairpin, 11 and 12. Drives like one corner, 13, and a little bonus right before the start finish is a huge bump that is launching the cars airborne that has already caught both Bruno Junqueira and Paul Tracy this weekend.
Some of the drivers have taken to calling it the ski jump. Now to our starting grid, powered like the Champ Cars by Ford. On the front row, Adrian Fernandez, his first of the year, looking for his second win of the season. He'll start next to the man who is second in the championship, Bruno Junqueira, his 7th front row start of the season. On row 2, Spaniard Oriol Servia has finished in the top 3 in each of the last 2 races. He'll start next to Frenchman Sébastien Bourdais. And I made a mistake earlier. If he picks up 7 points in the rookie standings and leads by 68 at the end of the day over Darren Manning, he will be our Rookie of the Year. On row 3, points leader Paul Tracy was the second quickest man in the morning warm-up. So the Canadian will have something for this field, it appears. He'll start next to the man who's 3rd in the championship, making the drama even better, Michel Jourdain Jr. On row 4, the teammates from Herdez Competition, Roberto Moreno of Brazil and Mario Dominguez of Mexico. On row 5, Portuguese Tiago Monteiro drives for the great Champ Car champion Emerson Fittipaldi. He'll start on row 5 next to Canadian Alex Tagliani. On row 6, 96 Series champion Jimmy Vasser finished 3rd here in Miami last year. He'll start next to rookie Darren Manning, hoping to stay alive in that rookie championship. On row 7, Mario Haberfeld of Brazil will start next to American rookie from nearby Boca Raton, Florida, Ryan Hunter-Reay. On row 8, Finn Mika Salo, with lots of Formula One experience, was actually second quick in the opening round of qualifying Friday, but dropped all the way back to 15th in final qualifying Saturday. He'll start next to Mexican rookie Rodolfo Levine. On row 9, American Jeff Boss from Narragansett, Rhode Island, will start next to Patrick Carpentier of Canada, 5th in the championship. He has a lot of work ahead of him to stay alive with 4 races to go. And on row 10, Alex Sparafico makes his second start of the season. He started and finished 18th back in July in Toronto. Turning now to our Bridgestone keys to the race. The track is short, as Tommy mentioned, 1.15 miles. Very slippery. The race distance, 135 laps. That is 35 laps longer than this event last year. The maximum lap interval for pit stops is 50 laps, meaning you can go no farther than 50 laps without stopping, making it a 2-stop race. And the pit lane speed limit has been lowered to 35 miles per hour due to the tight conditions. Looking closer at the pit windows, you can stop as early as lap 35 and lap 85 and still make the race distance on 2 stops. Let's go down to Calvin Fish in the pit lane.
Well, Bob, right before the drivers got in the car, Sébastien Bourdais pulled Paul Tracy to one side, and I went up to Sébastien and I said, what was said? I just wanted to remind Paul that if he tries a move like he made on the first lap at Montreal, I'm not going to open the door. He said we would crash today if he tries a similar situation.
Well, now, that's the rookie stepping up.
Firing a little mental shot across the bow.
Look how narrow it is on the backside. This is that tree-lined area that Tommy mentioned. And here's where the course differs from last year in one of 2 regards. A parking lot section was deleted, and this section along Biscayne Boulevard was added in order to lengthen the racetrack. Waving the flag today will be pop superstar Kid Rock, who performed on Friday night at nearby American Airlines Arena. Last night, the featured entertainer, in conjunction with the race weekend, I might add, was Sir Elton John. A great time was had by all. They're lined up. The flag waves. We are underway. Kid Rock looked a lot like our regular starter, J.D. Wilbur.
Maybe you heard you call him a pop star instead of a rock star.
Yeah, that might do it. Here's the fountain section. You ride with Paul Tracy.
And he has gotten around Bourdais, so a little mind game or not, Paul Tracy says, okay, well, then I'll just pass it clean.
Bruno Junqueira went right to the race lead. This is turn 6.
Monteiro and Manning side by side. Monteiro gets clear, pulling in front of Manning on board here. And once the tires come up to temperature, that section there will be flat out. You can hear how much they're lifting off the throttle until the tires come up to temperature and pressure. And Bruno has gotten around Adrian. That is key for Bruno. This track being so difficult to pass, he now...
Fernandez comes back.
And that's exactly what Paul Tracy was talking about, where Bruno's in a tough spot. Bruno in a normal race might have closed the door a little bit there, but Bruno had no choice. Adrian had the bit between his teeth. Mexico City's coming up. He needs to enter there with a win. Bruno says, even if I turn in, I'd be entitled to turn in, but I might be on the sidelines.
Here comes Tracy looking up the inside of Oriol Servia. 750 horsepower under each man's right foot. And 4 sticky Bridgestone tires at each corner, but still, this track is diabolical. It is so slippery, and the grip changes from place to place. Here comes the bump.
And you talk about 750 horsepower, 750 horsepower that comes on with a rush because of the turbocharger. It hits like a ton of bricks. And look at this going on behind the 2 Herdez cars, and that's Alex Tagliani getting underneath Mario Dominguez.
Splitting the Herdez teammates. Roberto Moreno up ahead, Dominguez behind.
Into the fountain section, where we've had a lot of trouble. Oh, saw Paul Tracy getting the rear brakes locked up under braking as he went out of camera shot.
On board with Tracy.
It looks like Bruno has closed back up on Fernandez. Up ahead.
Now that things have settled down, let's take a look. On board with Paul Tracy. This is at the start. Bourdais, the car to the right, up ahead.
And those guys going side by side. Sebastian was not able to pick up the throttle. Had to leave room for Oriol Servie on the inside.
Here's another look at Adrian Fernandez, having given up the lead to Bruno Junqueira, pulling right alongside.
And that is a late move by Adrian. He cannot pull that pass off if Bruno turns in like he was entitled to. But that's what you call being dead right. Bruno had every right to turn in across the front of Adrian. Adrian wasn't all the way alongside yet, but that would have done him no good at all.
That's an important difference on this racetrack as opposed to some of the others we get to. You can catch a guy in a braking area if you've got a lot of room for an error. Here you don't have that. You really need to get alongside him before you get to that braking area.
And that incident highlights what I talked about in terms of the differences of their approaches. Bruno is driving like you have to win a championship. Paul Tracy is driving like he's always driven. It so happened that things have fallen his way. But he says, I don't know if that's just kind of public bluster, where he's saying, I'm going to drive the exact same way, so the guys give him room, knowing he's coming through whether they like it or not. But Bruno is very consistent. Even though he wasn't very quick at the beginning of the year, he's still only 17 points behind Paul Tracy.
Report from the corners of that Alex Tagliani got together with Roberto Moreno. Tagliani is currently in 8th. Moreno 1 spot ahead of him. How's that for a view? Among the title contenders, Junqueira is 2nd, Tracy is 4th, Jourdain is 6th. Now let's take another look at what happened between Alex Tagliani and Roberto Moreno a lap or so ago. If you look back from Oriol Servie's car, 2 cars, middle of your screen. Ooh, I'll say that was contact. That's in the double hairpin leading to the final corners and onto the front straightaway. On board with Moreno.
Sometimes when you get into the back of a guy like that, you feel bad about it, and then you won't capitalize. You let the guy gather and back up. I don't know what's been going on between these guys at other parts of the course, but it's kind of a short track stock car move. Loosen the guy up and then get underneath him, but he went right on by.
While the action continues, Calvin Fish has caught up with the Grand Marshal of this weekend's Grand Prix Americas. Calvin?
Well, we're down here with Nicky Taylor, and Nicky, Grand Marshal has to be very exciting being born here in Coral Gables to start the race today. Gentlemen, start your engine.
Yes, it's very exciting. This is my first race, and it's just the sound, the smell, it's a great day to race. It's very, very excited. I'm very happy to be here.
And I understand you got a few laps with none other than Mario Andretti this morning.
Do you believe that? I got to go 4 laps, so we have 4 laps, and I'm like, oh, are you supposed to be going this fast? And, you know, he couldn't talk to me because he was concentrating, and that was just such an honor. It was amazing.
CK, the good news is she's much nearer my height than yours, mate.
I wonder if Mario wore his heels.
Fashion model and entrepreneur Nicky Taylor, Grand Marshal of the Grand Prix Americas. That's the view from Oriol Servie's car. We'll take a break and return to Miami in a moment. Tonight, right after 60 minutes. Welcome back to the streets of downtown Miami, Florida. Here's a look at your top 10 in the Champ Car Grand Prix Americas. I'm Bob Varsha along with Tommy Kendall, Calvin Fish, and Brian Till. There is 6th through 10th, topped by Michel Jourdain Jr., who's been suffering from a minor stomach bug. Well, it's minor today. It was major during the course of the weekend. He did well to qualify as high as he did, and now he runs in 6th place hoping to overhaul points leader Paul Tracy as they make their way around Fountain Square on the backside of this 1.1-mile racetrack. The race leader is Adrian Fernandez, and Calvin Fish is in his pits.
Well, I'm down here with the co-owner at Fernandez Racing, Tom Anderson. That was a very decisive move that your man made there underneath Bruno.
It certainly was, and we talked about it a little bit in a meeting earlier that that was one of the two places that provided an opportunity here in Miami, and so Adrian was really prepared to take advantage of it, and Chris Finch and John Dick did a great job getting the car to handle just right through those two corners, so we're pretty pleased.
Obviously a good start for this team. They've really reworked their chemistry here with the engineer and Scott, and it's paying off right now. Let's go down to Brian Till.
We're down here with Neil Mickelwright, who's looking at the computer pretty intensely. Nice opportunistic move by PT there at the start. How much more do you let him take on the track, and how much do you settle for getting in on pit stops?
Basically, yeah, we're really pleased with the start, and he did a good job right now. The car looks pretty good. You know, obviously, if we can get positions on the track, we're going to try to. He knows that we're not going to try and do anything foolish, hopefully. If we can get him in the pits, fine, but we'll race him on the track, in the pits, wherever we need to.
Wherever they need to, guys. They want this championship, but he's got to be calm on the racetrack. That's the place that'll bite you. They need to see what they can get in the pits. We'll see on the first round.
Indeed we will. On board with Paul Tracy, now in fourth place between Oriol Servia and Sebastian Bourdais. And Bourdais is the quickest car on the racetrack right now. His last lap, 45.54 seconds.
And you heard even Neil Mickelwright saying we're not going to do anything silly on the racetrack, and he added hopefully. That is the big wild card with Paul Tracy. And this weekend, you know, he had a real brain fade on Friday where he didn't run his total laps. The mistake he made on his qualifying lap on Saturday and the mistake Bruno made, that's just guys pushing to the limit. But when you make mental mistakes like Paul made on Friday, that's what you look for signs of pressure. Players made one of their own this morning. They sent Paul out without his rear wicker bill, which is a key component on the rear wing, and he said the car is really unstable under braking, dancing around a lot, and it's an 1.5 inch piece of metal that goes across the top edge of the wing, and that was an oversight on the team's part. So, you know, the knock against players in the past years is they can't hold it together for a full season. Same knock against Paul. Now that they're paired up, it seems like a match made in heaven, but I'm looking for signs of the pressure showing.
Well, you made the analogy to other sports at the top of the program. Racing is truly a team sport. One little mistake like that by somebody can ruin your whole day.
And Paul was pretty tough on his crew when he ran out of gas on the last lap at Montreal. Cost him 4 points, and you know, screamed on the radio. We listened in on that, which maybe isn't quite fair, but he blasted himself even harder after qualifying. So he's hard on those around him. He's very hard on himself.
We use the word gas euphemistically. These cars are actually powered by methanol, a renewable resource that burns at a lower flash point than gasoline. Doesn't get as good a fuel mileage, but that's what the Champ cars have run on for 25 years. Let's look at Sebastian Bourdais, carrying McDonald colors for the third and final time this year, and he's done well in them. A win in Cleveland, a second place finish elsewhere. Right now he runs fifth. On to Biscayne Boulevard in front of a big crowd here. Notice the grandstands on the right in Bayfront Park. High rises on the left. The essence of street racing. One of the things that makes Champ Car racing so challenging, perhaps the most challenging series in all the world, is the diversity of circuits. High-speed super speedways, where we'll wrap up the season at California Speedway in Fontana in November. Street circuits like this one, natural terrain road courses, and short ovals like the one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we ran earlier this year and Michel Jourdain Jr. picked up a victory. Look at that bouncing between turns 13 and 14. Clouds building up overhead. We had rain on Friday, but we haven't seen it since, despite the best efforts of the local forecasters to assure us that it is coming. But there's no real obvious evidence of it right now. Hopefully we'll get this one in the dry.
Now the gamesmanship that started before the race with Bourdais telling Paul Tracy, if you come by me in the same fashion as Montreal, I'm going to turn in on you. Paul Tracy made kind of a late pass, similar to the one that Fernandez made on Bruno Junqueira, and Bourdais let him have room, said he wouldn't do the same here. that's not the only time that dynamic can come into play. If Bourdais gets any closer to Paul Tracy, Paul's in the exact same shoes that Bruno is in. If Bourdais takes a lunge down the inside, he really has to be careful. You want to bluff the guy as much as you can, but at the very last second, you have to blink if you're running a smart championship race.
Just ahead of Paul Tracy on the road is this car, the orange and white Vistion machine from Patrick Racing for Oriol Servia on that run of 2 top 3 finishes in the last 2 races. Calvin Fish is in his pit.
Well, certainly Oriol Servia can be a spoiler in this race, and Jim McGee, we've got a championship going on out there. It's coming down to crunch time. Does that affect this team's psyche at all with Oriol really not in that mix?
No, Vistion car needs to win a race. That's our big project right now, and he's doing a good job. We got a good fast car, and so our focus is on winning the race.
You have a big pit window here today, 35 to 50. You can stop for the first one, and then 85 to 100 on the second one. Do you expect anyone to make a move there and try and shake things up a little bit?
Well, if I was a back marker, I'd look at doing that, but right now I think everybody's going to fall in line. The other thing is it's such a short track, it's awful easy to get lapped here, so that may play into a lot of people's strategies.
There you hear the answer from the master. Let's get down to Brian Tell.
Well, Ray Lito, engineer with Michel Jourdain. Ray, running a good pace right now, but he's been sick all weekend long. How is he today?
I think he's pretty good this morning, way better than yesterday. He had a rough day yesterday. He's hydrated today. I think he'll be fine. He's running a pretty strong pace now. We're just trying to, run along and see what happens here to the first pit stop.
So stomach flu is not what you want running around this racetrack. As far as a driver goes, we've seen him grow so much this year. This kid's the real deal, isn't he?
Yeah. It's been a really good year, and yesterday was really tough for Michel, and it just shows how good of a job he's doing this year. He can push through a sickness or something and still get a good qualifying like we did yesterday.
I think this has been the breakthrough year for Michel Jourdain. Look for him to battle for the championship from now on out. Bob?
And he's got a big race coming up. The next stop for the Champ Cars, downtown Mexico City. CBS Sports coverage of the Grand Prix Americas will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Back at the Grand Prix Americas, Adrian Fernandez remains the race leader. He has led over 500 laps in his career now, the last 3 seasons of which have been as an owner-driver. Now in his 11th season overall. Our title contenders, Bruno Junqueira in 2nd, Paul Tracy in 4th, Michel Jourdain Jr. in 6th. Patrick Carpentier, who came into the weekend 5th in the championship, is back in 16th, having moved up 2 spots from his starting position of 18th. Take a look at the fast laps of the race thus far. Sebastian Bourdais has been picking them up and laying them down, Tommy.
He sure has. Look at that. Just very consistent. 45-1, 45-1, 45-1. All 3 of his best laps faster than anybody else's best. Paul Tracy with the single lap just a 10th off. But Bourdais is inching ever so slightly closer. If he can get up close, Paul has to start paying attention to that. But that view at the back of Paul Tracy's car is just tremendous. It gives you an idea of just how close these guys cut it. They're driving 750 horsepower machines, very hot weather conditions, bumpy tracks, camber changes, pavement changes, a jump, for God's sakes, on this track, and just drifting it from within inches of the wall everywhere around. Unlike other sports, there's no breaks. There's to catch your breath between plays. There's no halftime. These guys go at it, and the penalty for a mistake is not a missed first down. It's a big impact with an unyielding concrete wall.
Comes another clutch of cars. Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Bob, checking in with the Newman Haas team, I just spoke to Peter Gibbons about the move that Adrian put on Bruno, and he just nodded his head in approval. He said that was a very strong move. And then we also spoke about the Sebastian Bourdais situation with Paul Tracy, and I said, Sebastian said he wasn't going to make it easy on Paul at the beginning of the race. What about the situation now? Will he be aggressive? And he just said, very. Let's go down to Brian Tell.
Well, here with Paul Gentilozzi, Paul, team owner for Tagliani. The pit window is 50 laps. Can you guys do 50, or is fuel going to be a concern around this place?
Well, we're not going to have another Montreal. I don't need any more advice from everybody with a computer. So we're going to get to the window, no problem. We've been conserving. He's got a faster car, at least faster than Moreno, but we're making him be conservative. So we'll get to the window, and we'll race later.
Well, all the engineers that have computers down here, guys. Gentilozzi, he's got an abacus he's working on for this fuel mileage stuff.
Quit picking on the guy. Paul Gentilozzi, great racing entrepreneur and a great driver himself. He knows what these guys are going through, and that's his man, Alex Tagliani, in the blue Johnson Controls car, sandwiched between that man, Roberto Moreno, and his teammate, Mario Dominguez. This is 7th, 8th, and 9th in the race.
So it looks like that little scrap we saw earlier where Alex got into the back of Moreno right here. Moreno was able to hold on to the spot. It looked like Alex was going by when they went out of view.
Here's another battle. Rodolfo Levine, Patrick Carpentier, Mika Salo, 15th, 16th, and 17th. They've been racing this close together since the green flag. Salo in only his second race with the PK Racing team.
Now the pit window opens next lap, and Alex or Patrick Carpentier would be a candidate for doing what Jim McGee said, getting out of sequence. He's quicker than Levine, but he can't get by, and so his best chance might be to come in the pits next lap at the very start of that fuel window and try to get on some clear track to use his car's speed.
Actually, I believe it's another 5 laps before that window opens, but the point is well taken. Carpentier has been an enigma this weekend. Very fast guy. He's got a win already this year on the natural terrain road course in Monterey, California. But in qualifying, he was mysteriously slow and then crashed. Now, Adrian Fernandez, the race leader, is just 5 seconds on the racetrack behind this group. 2 cars have already been lapped. Jeff Boss and Alex Sparafico, the 2 rookies from Dale Coyne Racing. Look at that bump as they porpoise over that stretch of pavement.
And the bump varies a lot depending on exactly where on the track they hit it. You saw Carpentier had offset himself a little bit so he could see around Levine, and it looked like it was much more severe, just about 6 to 8 inches to the left.
There's race leader Adrian Fernandez, 4th race he's led this season. He also led on the streets of Long Beach, California, on the natural terrain course in Portland, Oregon, and at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
In contrast to Alex Tagliani, who's running right behind Moreno, Moreno's team has told him fuel is not a problem. You can go. The question you might be asking yourself is, how can that be different? There are certain drivers' driving styles that they're able to go quicker and they just save fuel. Left foot breakers generally use more fuel because when you're a right foot breaker, you have a little bit of a delay between the brake pedal and the gas pedal, and those little things add up to a fair amount of fuel over time. Tagliani obviously is not the kind of guy, when he's in his go mode where he's turning quick laps, uses more fuel than some of the other guys.
Through Fountain Square, Biscayne Bay, and the cruise ship terminal in the background. Beautiful spot here in downtown Miami. It's hard to overstate just how difficult it is to wrestle these high aerodynamic downforce cars with 750 turbocharged horsepower through these narrow city streets. Lots of people tend to think driving a race car is just like driving your family car, only quicker, but it's a whole different set of physics and a tremendously athletic exercise. Look at Carpentier right up on the gearbox of the rookie Levine.
And this shows you how much time he's losing. Look, they're about to get lapped under green flag conditions. Incredibly frustrating for Carpentier, but a product of his performance in qualifying on Saturday.
Calvin Fish has more on Adrian.
Just checked in with the crew, Bob, to make sure that Adrian could make that 50 lap mark, running the pace he is out front, and they said, yeah, we're very comfortable with that. Remember, at Montreal, a lot of the teams were struggling. Tagliani couldn't make it. That ultimately cost him the victory there, but they're running the numbers right now. Everything looks good. So this first stint is always the critical one with those extra parade laps.
Fernandez slashes down underneath Mika Salo of Finland to put him a lap down. Fernandez with 1.2 seconds in hand over second place Bruno Junqueira. Of course, when the leader or any car gets caught behind slower traffic, those behind close up quickly.
Very gracious moves by Mika Salo, a Formula One veteran. He's not happy about being lapped, but he's not going to fight it. He says, if I was leading the race, I'd want the same courtesy, and he gives it to Fernandez. Notice how much that cost him. That gracious move has broken off the battle. He was right up on the back of Carpentier before that happened.
Coming around to complete lap 34. One lap and then the pit window opens. With different lines being taken by the drivers entering that double hairpin, as you call it, Tommy.
And they call it 2 different turns, but the drivers really are using one fixed amount of input on the steering wheel. The car drifts out away from the center of the road and then clips back in for the second part.
Working to the backside of the track, around the fountain. Very slippery around here on the concrete. And that's another challenge of street circuits, is different pavement surfaces that you cross on what are essentially workaday streets.
And that pavement, which is actually kind of a rose color here, I imagine it's a product of a lot of the coral that you have on the sand and the beaches here. They're using the aggregate in the concrete. And from a grip standpoint, you never know if concrete's going to be better or worse than the surrounding asphalt. Here in Miami, it is definitely more slippery. So there's a kind of a game of pitch and catch that goes on with the drivers in the corners like the fountain. And look at Carpentier weaving around behind Levine. The window is now open, lap 36, and he chose not to get out of sequence. I'm not sure I quite agree with that, but anyways, you see this rose-colored concrete into the fountain section, and it's very, very low grip. At the end of the back straightaway, you have the same stuff, and they turn into the car that doesn't have a lot of grip, but at the very exit right there, it switches to asphalt, and the guys throw it, the car starts sliding sideways, and they hook up with that sticky asphalt before they hit the concrete wall.
Now the queue really beginning to form up. Oriol Servia now slides up behind the white Scientific Atlanta car from PK Racing. Mika Salo at the keyboard.
Now the stewards will get involved here pretty quickly if those cars do not yield to Fernandez.
Oriol Servia can hold on and give Patrick Racing its third podium in a row. It'll be the first time that proud team has accomplished the feat since 1989, when they did it with eventual series champion Emerson Fittipaldi. Emerson is just down the pit lane as a competing team owner now. There goes Servia by Salo. Give you a look at what he might see on the dashboard, which is built into the steering wheel of the car. See these Ford Cosworth turbocharged 2.65 liter V8s, revs to 12,000 RPM.
And that double hairpin is about as tight as a corner you would encounter in a parking lot. And he went through there at 41 miles an hour.
Patrick Carpentier moves aside for Adrian Fernandez, trying to do the same for Bruno Junqueira, but it is just so tough. I mean, you can't levitate, you can't just disappear.
No, you certainly can. I would like to have seen Patrick get out of the way a little bit quicker than he did. Again, you see how much it cost him relative to the spot in front of him, but basically, you know, he's in 16th spot. It's not exactly a great day. Car 5, we are being told Levine, who's really at the front of this queue, is going to be black flagged for blocking, meaning he will have to come into the pits. They're not happy with him holding up the leaders. A fellow Mexican probably getting a lot of angry words in Spanish from south of the border right now.
All the sports talk radio stations that might be watching the race at the We're Adolfo Levine. Now here's a rookie in his first visit to this racetrack.
You saw how quickly Fernandez caught them when they first came up behind him, but then all of a sudden Levine speeds up, and so that's sometimes a characteristic. That is the most frustrating thing as a guy leading a race. You come up on back marker, you catch him 2 seconds a lap, then all of a sudden they pick up the pace. I'm like, why don't you do that all the time? You wouldn't be getting lapped. But anyways,
that, as they say, is why we run the races. Now the 5 car, Levine, is now in the pits to serve his penalty. Oh, that's Jeff Boss. His teammate Alex Barafico goes by. It's down in turn 1.
Oh, and Bourdais got crossed up heading in there.
Doesn't look like he's damaged the race car. May have lost the fire, however. Yep, full course yellow.
Everybody will head for the pits now.
This taking place on lap number 40. See Boss looking down in the cockpit, talking on the radio with the crew. If there's no damage to the car, they might push him and get him going again. And here comes the cue. Race leader Adrian Fernandez leads them in. Calvin Fish awaits him.
Well, it's a 35-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit here, Bob, so he's got to bring it in really slowly. They need a good, clean stop. Spoke to the team. The only change they're going to make is to drop the right rear tire pressure. It's getting a little hot there as he's trying to negotiate traffic. So Adrian hits his marks perfectly, and now the pressure's on this crew. They haven't led a race since Portland when they captured that win there. A great day for Adrian Fernandez. Can he get his 9th career victory? Good, clean stop for the Fernandez boys.
Oh, Servia jumps out directly in front of Paul Tracy. Let's check the order coming out.
It looks like the same order.
Fernandez, Junqueira, Servia, Tracy.
Bourdais, Jourdain.
Yep. They went in that order, and that's the way they came out. Oh, there's one of the American Spirit Team Johansson cars. That's Ryan Hunter-Ray from Boca Raton. He has lots of family and friends on hand this weekend. And apparently, the engine is silent. Give you a look at our top 10. Adrian Fernandez remains the race leader over Bruno Junqueira. Michel Jourdain in 6th, then Mario Dominguez, Alex Tagliani, Roberto Moreno, and Jimmy Vasser. Stick around. Welcome back to the Grand Prix Americas, featuring the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford. Here's a look at your top 10. Everyone pitted on that last stop except Patrick Carpentier, who moved up to 9th in the running order. Now we're still under a full course caution, so let's take a look at what happened to Jeff Boss, whose spin brought out the yellow. It's like the car just swapped ends on him under braking. Judging from the way the tire marks go. Oh, I saw you meant about Bourdais. He almost did a sympathy spin.
You guys, you talk about the competition and how tight it is out there, Bob. You were just talking about it. On that last pit stop, Bourdais came in. They took the tires off. This is the right front tire. And going past Carpentier on the racetrack, obviously a little brush with the wall. Now, it doesn't look like anything but some metal shavings off of that tire and wheel. But you've got to wonder, what does it do to the pickup points and the rod ends and the alignment?
Heavy crash. Oriol Servia into the wall, driver's left.
That's right after that bump.
I'm guessing it's very similar to what happened to Bruno Junqueira and Paul Tracy in the wet in Friday practice.
I'll be anxious to see if it was all by himself. Paul Tracy was right behind him, and that's where Paul is often most opportunistic. The radio communication from Servia says, sorry guys, lost the back end. I'll say.
Heavy damage.
Wow.
Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Try and get a word here with Jim McGee. Jim, did Oriol say anything to you about what happened?
Yeah, he said he just kind of lost it over the bump on the restart. Kind of got away from him.
With these conditions, high ambient temperature, high track temperature, is tire temperature a concern when you go back after a stop like this? Should it be?
Oh, yeah, we're, on cold tires, and he said the bump launched him down there and got him sideways, so tough break. He had a good car. The Visteon guys did a great job, so hopefully next race we can put it all together.
They're still looking for that first win, and something about that bump, TK, was the fact I spoke to some of the engineers. They're very concerned with the rear differential. They said how you land really has an effect on the drive shaft, because what it does, if you don't land square and both tires hitting it at the same time, it almost puts like a reverse torque into one of those half shafts, and that's really a big concern for these guys. We've lost 2 or 3 over the course of the weekend.
That's Oriol Servia making his way to the inside wall and into the pit lane. Let's take another look at what happened. On board with Servia over the bump. Let's get a look from on board Paul Tracy's car following Servia. Paul nearly got caught up in Servia's crash. From overhead, Car just twitches offline.
It stepped out. He made one correction, and then he was running out of road, so he had to add more steering back the other way, and then the back came around big time and slapped the wall.
So we are back under the full course caution. Another look.
Wow, that was close.
A grinding impact. Then he passes the opening in the wall and gets another run at the concrete. Brian Till has Oriole.
Well, Oriole Servia, glad to see that you're standing here able to talk to me, but obviously you'd rather be on the racetrack. I'm going to guess the bump.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an excuse, but I don't know. I was close to Bruno, so maybe I had less downforce, and when I hit the bump, I just lost control of the car and went straight to the wall. You know, it's just a shame, but because the Eastern Patrick Racing car has been working fantastic since we got here. The last 3 races were really good, and we're hoping to maybe go for a win here, or at least finish in the podium. That's where we were. We're running really quick, and I felt really confident. You know, I fall a little bit apart because we were saving fuel, but the car felt good, so I was confident. You know, it's one of those racing things, unfortunately, that you go through. But I'm really disappointed for the old Vistion crew, actually.
Well, tough luck. Obviously disappointed, but what a job they had done all weekend long. And you heard him say the last few races, they will be back and they will contend again. This is one strong team, Bob.
First car out of the race, and he is one of the local residents. The front wing crumpled under and was shot out the back of the race car. So the safety crew continues its cleanup. The safety car is on track, crewed this weekend by Floridian Linda Popst and Gail Truis, 2 members of the female pace car driving team. Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Down here with Joe Barbieri. He's the project manager for motorsports for Bridgestone Tire. And Joe, you come here for the 2nd year, brutal racetrack. What lessons did you learn last year, and what did you come with?
We were a little conservative last year, so we had a little intermediate compound, but then we came with a little softer one based on what the teams asked us to do. So the softer compound has given them a little bit more grip, but as they said, there's so many different types of asphalt out there and all, it still makes it very difficult. As far as that bump goes, you know, we can soften up the tire a little bit, but it's really up to the teams to do a little something with springs and shocks.
We look at the skies right now, clouds coming in. We've seen rain this weekend. What do you have for a wet tire today?
We also brought our softest rain tire for the street use, and I know they used a little bit on Friday, and it seemed to give them pretty good grip, so we're ready for anything.
All right, they're ready for all conditions, boys.
All right, thank you, Calvin. We'll take a break while we are under caution. A beautiful day here in Miami, Florida. Plenty of boats floating in the bay just off the backstretch. We'll be back. There's a look down on Bayfront Park as we continue under a full course caution. Here's a look at our top 10, topped by Adrian Fernandez, who has led every lap since the green flag. This is the 2nd visit of the Champ cars to this downtown course. They've been racing in the Miami area since the early 80s. But as you're about to find out, auto racing has been going on in the Miami area for a long, long time. Racing on board tracks was popular in the 1920s and 30s. In 1925, an oval board track 1.25 miles in length was built at Fulford by the Sea, now the city of North Miami Beach. It was built by Carl Fisher, who was one of 4 partners who built the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1909, and it was managed by Ray Haroon, winner of the first Indy 500 in 1911. The Florida track was banked at an amazing 50 degrees, and it was said a car had to be running faster than 110 miles per hour just to stay on the banking. On February 26, 1926, the Champ cars made their initial appearance in the Miami area at the Fulford by the Sea track. 18 cars entered the inaugural event, 14 Millers and 4 Duesenbergs. The race was scheduled for 300 miles instead of the normal 250. Rookie Ralph Hepburn blistered the high banks on the opening day of practice with an unheard-of speed of over 141 miles per hour. Tommy Milton soon upped the ante to almost 143. Peter DiPaolo installed a bigger fuel tank and radiator in his Duesenberg, then drove the 300 miles without a stop, later calling it one of the greatest wins of his career. Carl Fisher's new speedway was a big success, but 8 months later, it lay in ruins, destroyed by a hurricane. The great old days. The poor track era in American racing produced some absolutely astonishing stories. The lumber from that demolished port track was used to rebuild homes and businesses here in the Miami area following that hurricane. The track itself, of course, was never rebuilt. While we await the green flag here at the Grand Prix Americas in downtown Miami, let's go to Calvin Fish.
Bob, this has been a double-header weekend, certainly Champ Car racing here today, but yesterday we had an American Le Mans Series race on Saturday afternoon. And when the Fernandez boys came down to their pit box this morning, they had a little message from the team that won here yesterday. We've won, now it's your turn, good luck. Champion Racing number 38 car went to victory yesterday. They also started from the pole position, so maybe it's good karma.
Yes, indeed. Champion Racing, sponsored by a South Florida auto dealership of some renown. And boy, did they have a day here, including a pit fire. Fire extinguisher getting in the driver's eyes. And a long 2-hour stint by Formula One veteran Johnny Herbert. Joined teammate J.J. Leto in taking that Audi to victory, the LMP 900 class for Le Mans sports cars. Signal is being given. 1 lap to go to the green flag to the field. They're going to want to close up fairly quickly. The order remains Fernandez, Junqueira, Tracy, Bourdais, Jourdain, Dominguez, Tagliani, Moreno, Jimmy Vasser, and Tiago Montero, the top 10. Let's go to Brian Till.
Carpentier is in. He's on the marks. They're going to do 4 tires and fuel. They have to do 4 tires if they want to extend the pit window. That's exactly what they've done. It's what they want. He's down and gone.
That's right. By rule, on a pit stop, to qualify for your 2 mandatory stops in the race, you must mount 4 tires that were not on the car when it came in. And it may be the wave of the future in motor racing. We hear so much about fuel economy runs in every form of racing. Champ Car has taken the initiative by instituting this mandatory pit stop rule, giving you lots of fuel and insisting that you do stop so you cannot try to extend the tank and turn the race into a fuel economy run.
Reason races.
Back onto the front straightaway. Green flag. We're back underway.
The reason races turn into fuel economy runs is because it's hard to get by on the racetrack. Track position. Hear people talk about track position. When it's not easy to make passes on the racetrack, the best way to make positions is to save fuel and go longer on your stop. So until they solve the problem of making it so these guys can pass as much as they want, it's kind of a necessary evil. That was something that happened during that whole sequence of pit stops. You saw those guys getting lapped, Carpentier, Salo, and so forth before the yellow. They stayed out when everybody else dove for the pits. They all unlapped themselves, were able to catch up to the tail end of the pack, and then now they've made their services. So those guys at the back are on a divergent strategy, and if some of those guys, if they're quick enough during the 6, 7, 8 laps after these leaders stop on lap 90, you'll see some of those guys moving their way up through the order.
14 cars remain on the lead lap. A little twitch there from Jourdain in the Gigante car from Team Rahal, a team co-owned by CBS late night host David Letterman, who I'm sure is looking in. On board with Tracy.
Now, in keeping up on the changes that were made during the stops, Paul Tracy was complaining about his car being loose or oversteering, meaning that the rear was sliding more than the front. They told him on the radio before the last stop, try adjusting the torque settings. There's 5 different torque settings. You can back off the torque so the engine doesn't hit quite as hard in the lower rev ranges. On the other side of the spectrum, Michel Jourdain was having the opposite problem. He was complaining of understeer, where the front tires were sliding more than the rears. He asked for some more front wing on his pit stop. Generally speaking, the tracks move the way Tracy's car is. If your car is loose in the beginning, as the track gets more and more grip, the balance will shift towards the back, sticking the back more than the front. So it'll be interesting to see if Paul Tracy's car gets better as the race goes along versus some of these other guys. Oh, big wiggle by Bourdais there. And almost did the same thing as Serbia, where when he corrected it, it shot the car back to the right because he had the wheels turned to the right to catch the slide.
Green car at the back of this group is Mario Dominguez. Look at the front wheels come off the ground over that bump.
One of the hardest things to explain and translate in auto racing is how much is going on and how difficult it is to drive these cars. Until you've ridden in one, you really just don't get it. And so one of the things to explain what happened to Oriol Servia on cold tires, it's not just a slight degree. Most people in their street cars are not used to the grip changing. If it's dry, you have this amount of grip. If it's raining, it's one thing. If it's snowing, it's another. A champ car on cold tires is a lot like a street car on the snow. Now watch in front of Jourdain here, you'll see a big slide by Bourdais and just some very, very quick hands. We're able to get that steering back to the left before he slapped the wall. So
I think reflexes.
It's not a degree of change on cold tires. It's not like just slightly less grip. It's an order of magnitude change. Again, it is as dramatic as putting a road car on snow until you get temperature and especially pressure up to the optimal range on these tires.
Board with Tracy. See, they put Day-Glo paint on the end of that trackside wall there so the drivers could spot it easily. Didn't help Bruno Jacquera in final qualifying. He clipped that very wall we just passed and wound up in the tire wall. Here comes the hairpin.
On a sharp edge like that, it's relatively easy to pick out the sharp part of the wall. But what you don't realize, this camera is a good probably foot above Paul Tracy's line of sight where his eyes are. And down at where he sits, he cannot see past the barriers. The camera sees a little bit over the barrier. You can see it further around the corner. When you have a number of these barriers aren't curved. They're about, I think, 8 feet long. But they sometimes one will look like it's the corners opening up and then it'll get tighter and the corner will jump out at you.
Problems for Rodolfo Levine. He heads for the pit lane.
His day's done. You see the rear suspension broken. The left rear tires pointed to the left.
Must have hit the wall. Word from the corners is it happened in turn 9. To the pits and Brian Till.
Paul Tracy's championship sits both in front and behind him. Sebastian Bourdais, Craig Hampton, I know you're with Sebastian. You guys would love to see him in front of Tracy for Bruno's sake. But the car does not seem to be good since that contact with the wall.
Yeah, I mean, we were hanging with Paul. I think the car was outstanding, judging by how close we could stick with him. But then Carpentier got a lap down, and he let all the other leaders by. But, of course, you know, once his teammate got by, he got in our way. And Sebastian tried to get around him, and I guess in that process did hit the wall. The front toe is really bent. We can see it. The toe link is bent. And I think the car is going to be pretty bad. I bet you it's understeer in one direction, oversteer in the other direction. Probably doesn't brake well. We're just going to hang on and see get the best finish we can here. It's very disappointing. I wish he hadn't done that to us.
Well, guys, you saw the wheel and tire earlier, just a small scrape, but it doesn't take much to knock these very sensitive cars out of alignment. It's going to be a long day for Sebastian Bourdais. Bob?
And talking about toe, what he means is where the front wheels are pointed relative to each other. To give you a human analogy, chances are it knocked the wheels in, so the front of the car is kind of pigeon-toed, pointing at each other. And if they can see it with their bare eye, they set the toe on these cars to the 1,000th of an inch. So the fact that he's even able to run reasonably close is surprising.
CBS Sports coverage of the Grand Prix Americas will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the Champ Car World Series is sponsored by Simple Green. Let Simple Green keep your world clean.
Monday on an all-new Late Show, Dave welcomes Denzel Washington. And later this week, don't miss Lisa Kudrow, Robin Williams, and Sting. Dave's all new, all this week, right here on CBS. Let's look at our top 10 of the Grand Prix Americas, approaching the halfway mark in this race, working lap 65 of 135. The race leader is Adrian Fernandez. Let me correct something. Earlier I said he'd led every lap. He did not lead lap 1. That honor went to Bruno Jacquera. But the 59 laps led by Adrian is the most he's led in an event in 4 seasons. Back in 1999, he led 153 laps on the oval at Motegi, Japan, en route to the victory.
Look at Bourdais. Got very close to Paul Tracy in turn 1 last lap. Bourdais looking down the inside.
traffic again. There's Jeff Boss, who spun earlier, trying to stay out of the way. Now, a few laps ago, while we were in break, it appeared that something might have come off Paul Tracy's car. Watch the right front of the car. I think it may be one of the aerodynamic flugels, as they call them, that manages the airflow between the front and rear tires. But it doesn't appear to have slowed him down. That last lap, 46.862 for Paul Tracy in third.
It's the top element of his front wing. If you look on the left side of Paul Tracy's car over here, you see 3 elements. Over on the other side, it's only 2. That will substantially affect his front downforce.
As you see, Paul closing in on Bruno Junqueira in second. And behind Tracy.
There versus right there. Now that's something that failed on its own. That's not something that you can hit via contact without tearing the whole nose off.
The gap to Junqueira drew out slightly. Let's get to the pit lane and Brian Till.
Well, Rodolfo Levine, I know this has not been a memorable weekend for you starting at Friday, but what finally put you out?
Yeah, well, it's a shame. You know, we're running a pretty good race. You know, the first pit stop was pretty good. And, well, in the restart of the yellow flag, I kissed the wall with my right wheel. And then I came into the pit to check the car, and everything looked pretty good. And when I went out to the track again, the steering wheel was a little bit bent. And then in turn 8, I just went to the other side of the wall and I touched it. I broke one of the rear toes.
Sorry to see you out. Tommy, you talked about it earlier. Absolutely no room for error on this tight road course. You hit one of these concrete walls, you're going to break something.
Oh, Tracy. Oh, into the back of Bourdais.
And he knocked his front wing, his nose askew. Paul Tracy did.
Now Bourdais was trailing.
Are you running? Okay, Sebastian. Bring it around. We are ready.
Bourdais had gotten ahead of Tracy.
That is exactly what Newman Haas wanted to have happen. It's not good for Bourdais, but it is tremendous for Bruno Junqueira. Paul Tracy's going to have to stop to get that nose reattached. It's exactly what you hope to goad him into.
Tracy will head for the pit lane under our third full course caution. Bourdais lose the power? I believe he did. His visor is up, and that's usually the signal.
Okay, we're just being there right underneath Steve's hand. We're all set up ready for you. What we're going to do basically is just
Tracy's in on his marks. They'll do tires. They'll do the nose too. There are about 6 bolts that hold this nose in. They'll use power wrenches to get that out and go back on with it. The problem is if there's anything broken or bent in there, it may be hard to get the new screws in. I don't see any suspension damage, but the crew is pointing to something on the right front and they're giving the kill sign. Could be the day for Paul Tracy. He obviously has some type of suspension damage. It could be an upright.
It's the top wishbone has that wrinkle in it. That is supposed to be dead straight.
That's right, Tommy. I can see that upper wishbone, the leading edge of it is bent.
And Tracy takes off the steering wheel. Meanwhile, Bourdais trying to get the crew to push start him. See the flat spots on the tires.
There will be, Bourdais again is not happy. There will be big smiles down in his teammates' pit, the Pacific Care pit.
Looks like the Simple Green safety crew is going to.
When they both get it back here, Sebastian, we're going to have a good look at this.
Well, they're hoping to get Sebastian Bourdais here, see if we can get a quick word with Craig. He may be busy right now. He is. He's going to wave us off because they're going to try and get him back here. But he was very frustrated when he saw Sebastian stalled out there on course. But then, of course, when they saw that Paul Tracy's day was done, there was actually a clap down here. So they're not happy with Paul Tracy. And let's get down to Brian Till from his perspective.
Well, down here with Paul, he's going to get the suit off. It is brutally hot down here. And Paul, I'm sure it's not only hot because of the weather. I'm sure you're not particularly pleased with what just happened on the racetrack.
I don't know. I mean, it's a 50-50 deal. I mean, he was trying to make moves on me, and he made a big dive, and then I squared him up and tried to get back by, and I was a little bit in there, but probably not enough. So disappointing weekend all around.
not a good weekend, but in the championship, you still got 3 to go. You can hold on to this thing, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we just have to regroup. We didn't have a great weekend this weekend. We need to regroup for Mexico and try to bounce back like we did after Elkhart.
Well, they've done it before, guys. He's got 6 wins. Don't count him out. Got a long way to go.
And this was the sequence as Bourdais took the position. Paul tried to get it back and got into the back of him.
And I hypothesized earlier if Paul Tracy was really going to drive like he always has, or if that was just a little bit of bluster. Well, that's exactly what Paul's known for. He drives every corner like it's the last. That's not the way to win a championship, but it's the way. I honestly think that Paul Tracy would rather lose the championship than not race in a way he respects. We all put the ultimate accolade on the championship. Paul consistently drives every corner, every lap like it's his last, gives it his all. To him, that's what he values, that's what he respects. I'm sure he's disappointed and will second guess this a little bit, but you know, it's that's his nature.
Now this has had multiple impacts on the championship, not only the overall but the rookie battle. If Sebastian Bourdais can't get going again, Darren Manning remains alive in the race for the Jim Truman Rookie of the Year honors. There it is from Paul Tracy's perspective. Now Michel Jourdain also benefits. We talked about Bruno Junqueira, who remains in second place, but Michel Jourdain has gone from 5th to 3rd, and you see the Newman Haas crewman at the back saying, nope, shut it off. May have damaged the rear wing support to the point where they can't get it fixed. Looks like he's got right front suspension damage as well. There's the damage at the rear end. And there is Paul Tracy, who will spend the next 2 weeks before the Mexico City round thinking about what might have been. Here's a look at the points as of now. Bruno Junqueira would pull within 3 points of Tracy for the championship lead. Michel Jourdain up to 27. We've got a long way to go in this one. Just past the halfway mark. Darren Manning moves into the top 10. Ooh. My goodness. Now that's a brave man. Sebastian Bourdais is an athlete, but Paul Tracy has some size on him. Quite a bit, actually.
Everybody always talks about teammates, you know, trying to rile a guy to get him off their game. I've never actually seen it turn out like this.
Bourdais' car is being pulled away. Let's go to Calvin.
Well, we're down here walking with him. Kenny Siegwig trying to calm him down. He gets a cold shot of water there. Sebastian, I know you're extremely frustrated walking away from the pits right now. Give us your perspective on what Paul did there.
I have nothing to do. I have nothing to say. It's just the way it is. It's just stupid.
That says it all as we go back to green.
Thank you, Calvin. 12 laps from the opening of the final pit window at lap 85. The order is Fernandez, Junqueira, Jourdain, Dominguez, Tagliani, then Roberto Moreno in 6th, Jimmy Vasser 7th, Thiago Montero 8th, Mario Haberfeld 9th, and Mika Salo 10th.
Now, as a team owner, you never would like a guy like Bourdais to actually lock up his brakes and run into Tracy. You never say that. You would actually hope it. I mean, that's how high the stakes are in this deal. But to his credit, Bourdais, even though they would maybe have liked him to, you know, try a bonsai move on Paul, Bourdais holds himself to a pretty high code of conduct. And his move,
This is Bourdais coming to find Paul Tracy.
He might be a rookie, but he knows that if you get in pit scraps, you need to leave your helmet on.
That's right.
I think that guy was telling him, you really don't want, it's like the dog chasing the car. You really don't want to catch that car. So he says, you really don't want to get in Paul's face right now.
A little squirm there from race leader Adrian Fernandez's Ford Lola. He can hold on. My, what that might do for ticket sales at our next round in his native Mexico City. Getting word of possible nose-to-tail contact between Ryan Hunter-Ray and Jeff Boss. Also contact between Mika Salo and Patrick Carpentier.
I guess to finish the thought on Bourdais, what I was saying, he holds himself to a high code of conduct, even though there was an incentive to do that to help Bruno, and which I think is why he's so disappointed in return.
Well, he has a championship of his own to worry about in the rookie chase. But the day is over for Paul Tracy and Sebastian Bourdais. The leaderboard takes on a whole new look. We'll be back on CBS. Welcome back to the Grand Prix Americas. Round 16 of the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford on the streets of downtown Miami, where race leader Adrian Fernandez has clinched the bonus championship point for leading the most laps of this race, though we still have 56 laps to go, and several drivers are beginning to report severe fatigue, including Mika Salo running in 10th place and the man chasing him, Patrick Carpentier, in 11th.
That's Mika Salo, a veteran, I think, of over 100 Grand Prix, and we're just past a little bit, way past halfway. So I would say that physical condition will definitely be a factor up front as well.
Got a novel report from one of the drivers over the radio. Ryan Hunter-Reay is reporting to his team that the heat is causing his steering wheel to come apart.
I think that's probably a number of the guys I know, Oriol Servia, Ryan Hunter-Reay, have these special molded grips that are actually molded to their hand, that are made out of something in the way they heat it up with a hair dryer to get it to mold.
Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Down here with Tom Anderson once again. Tom, you have to pit in about 10 laps, but with those yellows, a lot of the guys at the tail end of that lead lap have worked that pit window opportunity to perfection, particularly Manning. Give us your perspective.
Well, I mean, the best thing that could happen for us is we'd get a yellow between lap 85 and 90, put us back into that and negate the advantage that they have right now. Manning's by far, I think, can go to lap 122, so he's going to lead for quite a while. Hopefully it doesn't work with that other traffic gets in our way here. So, and then if we pit on a green, I hope they do as well.
If there's no yellow flags from here to the checkered flag, will Manning win, or should you be able to keep the lead?
No, we'll take the lead if there's no yellows between here and there.
Okay, there you have it. Brian Tell.
Well, Brian Maul with Mario Dominguez. You guys running a really strong fourth right now, and this team and this driver have improved all year long, Brian. What's the key?
I think he's just got a lot of confidence right now. We have a lot of good races, and ever since the Europe trip, we got on podium twice. His confidence just sky high, and you know, he's just driving a good race.
It's all about the momentum, obviously, is what you're saying. What about the heat in the cockpit right now? I know we stuck a temperature gauge in one of the cars earlier. The black surface temperature before the race was 160 degrees. Any reports from the cockpit?
No, but he seems to think everything's fine. We asked him how is he doing. He said no problem, it's okay.
So, yeah, it's amazing, guys, when you're running up front, no problems.
Oh, he's pretty fit, so we'll see.
Just 27 years old, last year's Rookie of the Year. Mario Dominguez is a completely changed driver from what he was last year.
Well, I think Brian was asking the reason why his confidence is so high. Brian Mott, he and Mario have a tremendous rapport going. The car's been a lot more to Mario's liking. That feeds the confidence. The confidence feeds the speed back and forth. The reason he knows he's in great shape is those guys have become very, very good friends and do a lot of their training together as well.
51 laps to go next time by. 15 cars remain on the lead lap. The last one in line is the one Calvin Fish is curious about, Darren Manning from Walker Racing.
But Manning lost a huge chunk of time in the last couple laps. He is 25 seconds behind. He was only 16 seconds behind before. So I'm not sure if he's in traffic of his own amongst lap cars.
There is Manning from North Yorkshire in England.
Yeah, it looks like he lost a heap of time behind the other Dale Coyne car.
He has made 5 pit stops to this point, including one to replace a damaged nose piece.
And he set a rookie record, I believe, in Denver for the most consecutive top 10 finishes for a rookie ever in Champ Car racing. 8 consecutive top 10 finishes. It's too bad that he lost that big block of time, because Tom Anderson said, yeah, there'll be no problem. Adrian will keep his lead. If everything worked exactly the opposite and Adrian got stuck in some of that same traffic and Manning was on a clear track, he could have overcome that 16-second lead. It would have taken a number of things to happen exactly right or wrong for Fernandez.
Now at the upper left, we're showing the viewers when the next pit stop will come for each driver in the queue. Darren is obviously going to go a lot farther, and that will work to his advantage. It always looks like everybody slides through that fountain square.
You know why it looks like that, Bob?
Because they are.
Yes.
Bruno Junqueira runs second. If he could somehow pry the lead away from Adrian Fernandez, he would take the championship lead over Paul Tracy by 3 points with 3 races remaining. If he finishes where he is now in second behind Adrian Fernandez or some other driver, he would trail Tracy by 1 point going to Mexico City in 2 weeks. And the final pit window is now open, and we've got debris make that trash on the racetrack. I wonder if that was some moron's idea of a joke. Well, it's off the racing line, thankfully. There you see the pit windows. So the final window is now open, meaning you can pit now and still go to the finish without having to stop again. Oh, man. Taking that bump.
That's the yellow that Tom Anderson was saying. It would be really nice if we got a yellow between 85 and 90.
Because it would close everyone up. On board now with Mario Haberfeld, a rookie from Brazil who spent 4 years in the FIA Formula 3000 series in Europe. He's been a key player in an interesting sidebar story this weekend, filming an episode of the CBS hit drama CSI Miami. Using this race weekend as the backdrop for a mystery, we won't go into the details. The episode is tentatively scheduled to air on November 10th, so check your local listings. And this race will be a big part of that episode of CSI Miami.
I'll give you a little hint. In racing, the guy that is on the fuel tank is known as the dead man. So obviously every CSI involves dead people, so check it out.
This team, MyJack Conquest Racing, new to the series this year, made a suspension change to the front of the car that just revitalized it a couple of races ago. Having said that, Haberfeld has had his hands full this weekend. Right now he chases fellow rookie Tiago Montero right there in the day-glow orange and blue cars. The colors of the car, Montero, mimic those on the helmet of team co-owner Emerson Fittipaldi, the Indianapolis 500 winner, Formula One world champion, and kart champ car titleist.
Speaking of helmets, Montero is running his normal helmet in the race, but all weekend he's been running a different helmet design that is part of this charity called the Childhood Foundation, which was founded by the Queen of Sweden, who is a friend of Jamie Digman's, Emerson Fittipaldi's partner. 1,400 kids that are in these projects in Brazil submitted designs, and the winner was chosen, and Montero has been wearing that helmet design all weekend. Didn't fit his Hans device perfectly, so he's not racing it, but that helmet is also being auctioned off to benefit the Childhood Foundation.
The Hans device is the head restraint device, drapes over the driver's shoulders, fastened under the seat belts, and it's time for final stops for the top 9 cars. Alvin Fish awaits the leader.
Well, once again, they crawl down pit lane at 35 miles an hour, and this should be a time fuel stop. It's about 25 gallons that these leaders will need to get to the checkered flag. That should coincide approximately with the tire change. So Adrian hits his marks, and the keeper, Bruno Junqueira, is a bit further towards pit out, so maybe they can gauge Adrian's stop and try and send him a little bit early. Tire change is done, waiting for a bit more fuel. Adrian's away. Is he going to beat Bruno Junqueira? He does. He keeps the lead, and we have a problem in pit lane here, Bob.
Junqueira got together with another car. Looks like Montero.
No, it was Tiago Montero there and Tagliani.
Brian Till, what can you tell us?
It was Michel Jourdain who made a great stop. They came in, they got tires, and they were waiting for the fuel to go. And just as they sent him, Tiago Montero came in. They made contact as Jourdain left his stop. But it looked like there was no damage to Jourdain's car or Montero's. It'll be interesting to see once they get on track and up to speed.
Mika Salo stayed out, takes over second place behind Bruno Junqueira. And now he moves to the race lead on timing and scoring. Fernandez and Junqueira make their way around. They went in 1-2, came out in the same order, but not in the same place in the queue. Right now the order is Mika Salo, Patrick Carpentier, and then I believe Adrian Fernandez slots into third. There is Salo with 110 Formula One starts on his resume. But because Formula One cars for many years have done their shifting with paddles placed on the steering wheel, it's been about 8 years since Mika Salo has actually used a gear shift lever. Here is Jourdain leaving his pits. Here comes Montero.
And the tight quarters, Montero was trying to get into his pit stall right as Jourdain was coming out. The tightness, the confines of the pits here are why the speed was lowered from 50 to 35 miles an hour. And that's just close quarters.
It looked as though Mario Haberfeld's team had gotten into the pit lane, laid down the tires, and that was what Junqueira was trying to get around when he made contact with Montero. And he had a clear pit in front of him. He might have avoided that contact. Car looks to be all right. Jourdain currently shown 5th. Oh, Junqueira and Fernandez, the race leader, get together with Thiago Montero.
And Fernandez has stalled it.
What happened there? Fernandez is asking for a push. Full course yellow, pits are closed.
There's a pretty big gap. Oh.
Junqueira, you can just see the back of his car to the left of your screen.
I guarantee he's going nuts in the cockpit wanting to push.
Oh, this is unbelievable. Now they have to wait for cars to go by before they can push Fernandez. He'll drop the clutch. No, he waited too long. Well, we'll take a break while this goes on. We'll show you what happened when we return. Stand by for more after a dramatic turn of events here in Miami. Get the latest racing results plus profiles and rankings for all the Champ Car drivers at CBSSportsline.com or at CBS Sportsline on AOL. Here's a look at our top 10. We are under caution once again, and the leaderboard has really taken a shaking up. Moments ago, race leader Adrian Fernandez and second place Bruno Junqueira tangled while lapping the car of Thiago Montero, and both are still in the process of getting back underway. Now let's take another look at what happened just before we went to commercial break. Montero on the left, Fernandez and Junqueira on the right. Junqueira locked up, it looked like, to avoid getting into the back of Fernandez, and then slewed across in front of Montero.
That's that slick concrete, the kind of rose-colored concrete, and Bruno lost it.
Let's watch it in real time, see how quickly it happened. Looked like Bruno Junqueira's hands came off the steering wheel.
I think when the right got into
got a flat right front, it looks like. Finally refired, front end damage as well. So Bruno heads for the pit lane. Calvin Fish.
Down here with Tom Anderson. Tom, you were so excited after that stop. You beat Manning out, which is going to be critical to victory, and then all hell broke loose.
Yeah, I guess it looked like Bruno was feeling sorry for Paul and wanted to keep it closer in the championship. I mean, he threw away a lot of points there, and unfortunately it took us with him. And I mean, the Ducati car is running pretty strong today, so we're pretty pleased. We'll see what we can get here. I'd look for Adrian to pass a few before this is over.
Okay, hopefully the car is healthy. Let's go down to Brian Till.
Well, here with Bobby Rahal. Bobby, tense moments in pit lane there on that last stop. Very narrow pit lane, but I know there was some discussion down here with the officials about a possible penalty.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, Montero's down here, and he really needs to let the guys leaving, because he was turning into us as we were coming out of our pit. We were within our lane and everything, so he actually drove into the side of us. And you know, I don't know what's going on here, but I can't believe they're going to, if they made a penalty to affect the championship over something as gray as that, would be pretty ridiculous if you ask me.
Well, Scott Remke pleading your case. Any word on the ruling?
I don't know anything yet. We'll see.
We'll wait for the jury. It's still out. Calvin?
Down here in Bruno Junqueira's pit, he is in. They've changed the nose assembly. They're looking over the suspension right now. I don't see any kinks in the suspension, but when you take a hit like that, we're going to have to wait and see when he gets a few laps under his belt. But being caught there without refiring the car, he's really not going to be in the thick of the points today.
Judging from the paint color, it looks like they perhaps went to his teammate's car, Sebastian Bourdais, to get a nose piece to put on Bruno Junqueira. Now, while we have a moment, we'd like to send a word out to some friends. Steve Shear is our CBS producer on some of these Champ Car broadcasts. He had to leave us this morning, but the news is all good. We understand his wife Sandy gave birth to twins this morning, so congratulations to Steve and Sandy. Elsewhere, an old friend of ours, Skip Van Vliet, who was a part of our crew on these broadcasts, passed away, unfortunately, from complications arising from heart transplant surgery. Our condolences go out to his widow, Kim. And an old member of the Champ Car family, Doug Shearson, a great car owner for many, many years, whose driver Al Unser Jr. lost the championship here in Miami on the old Tamiami Parker circuit back in 1985 to his father, Al Sr., driving for Roger Penske. Doug Shearson called that perhaps the biggest disappointment of his racing life. He's in hospice back home. We know he's looking in. Doug, your friends here in the Champ Car Series are thinking about you. Here's a look at the championship as of now after all these dramatic developments. Paul Tracy remains the points leader now that Bruno Junqueira has fallen back, and at this point trails Tracy by 17 points in our hypothetical championship. Michel Jourdain 19 points out. Sebastian Bourdais 62. And Patrick Carpentier would be mathematically eliminated from championship contention as things currently stand. Now here's another look at Michel Jourdain's pit stop when he made contact with the incoming Thiago Monteiro.
Now that tire there is what Jourdain was going around. The key is I really don't see a penalty here for Jourdain. There's supposed to be 3 lanes. The one they're stopped in, the middle one, and then the outside one. Montero was not all the way over in the outside lane, but rule 6.7.27 applies to this, and it says drivers moving from the outside to the inside lane must give way to race cars in the inside lane and not force cars in the inside lane to slow or take evasive action. We'll continue with that after we go green.
Down here in the Newman Hospice, Peter Gibbons was pacing. He's just furious with what happened out there on track. And TK, maybe that's really what Bruno likes. He runs the car on the nose a little bit. It really gets light on the rear end, and when you get caught up in traffic, it caught him out again, just as he did in Montreal.
We are back underway. Oh, Jimmy Vasser gets all kinds of sideways, and Mario Haberfeld gets into him.
Salo takes advantage of that. There's something caught in the vortex generators on the right side part of Vasser's car. Looks like a trash bag.
On board with Haberfeld.
A coin car down the escape road.
And a slow car moving. That is Alex Tagliani.
With right front and left front suspension damage. You see the wrinkled wishbones on the left front.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
Team timing trying to calm their driver. Not surprising that someone suffered damage and all of that toing and froing. That is Alex Sparafico, making only his second Champ Car start for Dale Coyne Racing. And he's going to need some help. Boy, they've been busy down in that corner. The order is Jourdain, Manning, Dominguez, Moreno, Salo, Vasser, Haberfeld, Carpentier, and Tagliani now having fallen aside. That moves Adrian Fernandez up to 9th, and rookie Ryan Hunter-Reay, one of the local favorites, to 10th. What an amazing race, and we still have 34 laps to go. CBS Sports coverage of the Grand Prix Americas will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Welcome back. There's a view down on Bayfront Park and Biscayne Boulevard in beautiful downtown Miami. We've had amazing twists and turns in this 16th round of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. The Grand Prix Americas. There's a look at 6th through 10th in the running order. For complete Champ Car results and standings, check out CBSSportsline.com or CBS Sportsline on AOL. Now, let's take a look at what has happened down to the far end of the course.
That was Jimmy Vasser getting all kinds of sideways, big tank slapper back and forth.
Here comes Mario Haberfeld, and they bang wheels. And Mika Salo tries to take advantage up the inside. That was on the first lap following a restart. Cold tires all around. Now watch the top of your screen. That is Jimmy trying to bring that car under control going into turn one.
See that trash bag fluttering.
We'll have a look from Mario Haberfeld's perspective. Now here's the incident involving Jeff Boss in the yellow car and Alex Tagliani, which resulted in a bent front suspension for Tagliani and a punctured radiator for Boss. Here's Brian Till.
Down with Alex Tagliani. I know he's looking at the replay that you guys are looking at on television, and I've seen Alex Tagliani win races. I've been around for a long time in your career coming up. I don't think I've ever seen you as disappointed or disgusted.
It is very difficult to accept because I was on the radio with my team and they told me that he was going to let me by on the restart. So I took it easy going in turn one, and he's holding the middle of the road. And coming out of the fountain, he kept the middle of the road, and then I went on the inside in turn 6, and he saw me and he just turned without, I don't know, I mean, in Vancouver it happened with Monteiro, and this is unacceptable from kart drivers to destroy races of guys who are on the lead lap.
Well, tough luck. Like I said, I've seen this guy win races. He's a future champion, but he is seriously disgusted today. Calvin?
Well, there's been a big decision made down here. Team Rail have been informed that they need to move Michel Jourdain to the back of the pack here, and we're going to talk to the team, but they're now going to go green. They need to be on the radio. We'll get back to that. Let's go back to Brian Till.
Actually, I'm going to jump in here, Calvin, and it was Alex Sparafico, not Jeff Boss, who tangled with Alex Tagliani. My apologies. There is Michel Jourdain, who has gone to the back of the pack, and that will be a controversial decision as we go back under green. The 29 laps left, and Darren Manning, the rookie, on the point.
Leading but out of sequence. He is the only car up front here that still has to make another pit stop. So that puts Mario Dominguez, both Herdez cars, Dominguez and Moreno right behind him in the catbird seat.
These two cars, Dominguez and Moreno, will not have to stop.
I cannot believe that call on Jourdain. There was a similar incident in Long Beach last year where Cristiano D'Amata and Adrian Fernandez got together, very similar. After that, there was some clarification added to the rule. I only read half of the rule book talking about the guy on the outside. If he's coming from the outside lane into his pit, cannot impede a guy leaving his pit lane. There's a similar responsibility for the guy on the inside not going into the outside lane. Jourdain, and look at this, Dominguez is not driving like he knows that Manning has to make another stop.
Well, exactly my point. Why challenge when you know the guy's going to peel off in about 14 laps? Oh, and now Manning gets caught. It's like being left out of the draft on a big super speedway in a stock car. Manning gets shuffled back 3 spots.
And imagine the disappointment of the Mexican fans with Adrian Fernandez taking out the lead heading into Mexico City. Well, there's Michel Jourdain to pick up the pieces. He's black flag. Fortunately, there's another Mexican. So we've got our bases covered. We're running out of them in a hurry, though.
Be interested to see if Darren Manning goes to the pits because he is slowing. That car doesn't appear to be right. On board with Roberto Moreno in second. To Calvin Fish.
Down here at Team Rahal, Bobby doesn't want to talk. Going to catch a word here with Ray Lido. Ray, with Bruno and PT having problems today, this is a big opportunity, and now it's gone away potentially. Your thoughts on the call?
Well, it seems like everybody that's in the championships had some problems today. You know, it was a bang-bang call down here. Greg waved him out. We thought we had plenty of room. Diego was coming into his pit. It was kind of a wheel-to-wheel deal. We didn't think it was bad. You know, they called us for waving out in front of traffic, but I think it's a pretty harsh call, actually.
They tried to clarify this earlier in the season. We had a similar situation early on, and they said if the car's coming in, he has to make way for the car leaving the pit box, and you were underway, you're saying, before Tiago got alongside?
Well, obviously, that's what we think. He's 2 pits away from us. He's breaking into his pit box. We stayed in the tight lane, and, you know, that's what we thought we were doing the right thing there. But, you know, that's how it goes. Calvin, can I say that I wanted to thank everybody at home for a tough year. Everybody at Team Rahal, the shop guys have been doing a great job. That's why we're in the position we're in like this every week.
Okay, well, they're always in contention. Big smile on his face, but certainly disappointment at the same time, Bob.
Ray Lito is a racer. He smiles no matter how bad things get. 8 lead changes among 6 drivers thus far, 5 full course cautions, and we still have 26 laps to go. Now watch here, Jourdain is rolling. Now Montero had to see that Jourdain was on the move.
Well, Montero couldn't have stopped much faster than he did. I mean, they definitely waved him out late. If that tire, which ironically was left by Montero's teammate, was not there, Jourdain could have, you know, come out a little less severely. Montero was not all the way against the wall. Again, that was a pretty gray area call, and not one that I would want to make the way they did. No shortage of stories. We've got another one up front here with Mario Dominguez now leading with no pit stops left. His teammate, Roberto Moreno, that might explain why the fire was under Dominguez. Roberto Moreno is effectively losing his ride after this weekend within that team. They're replacing him with another Mexican driver heading into Mexico City. It hasn't been clear whether that's just for Mexico City or a one-race deal. They're saying it's just a one-race deal, but I'm not sure Moreno is probably super keen about being a team player right now.
I must say, I haven't heard any public pronouncements from Roberto about whether he likes that or not. Well, we can assume he's a racer. He does not want to get out of the race car. Let's go to Brian Till.
Keith Wiggins, this is a place where you guys have worked and worked to get to. You're leading the race, no stops left. What's it going to take to get to the top rung of the podium?
I would say no mistakes. No, I mean, at this point, you know, positions and everybody there, we just got to, everything's got to go right. They don't make any mistakes. I think we should be all right in theory.
And a victory for this team, how much would that mean to you guys?
Well, I'd prefer you ask me that question at the end of the race, but it's been a long time since Australia, and this would be a good way to do some of the ups and downs that we've had.
You heard it, guys. It's been a long time since Australia, and they'd like to win one when it's dry and the track is competitive. So hang on, keep their fingers crossed.
That was a very controversial victory in the wet in Surfers Paradise, Australia. This team, which was founded by the late Tony Bettenhausen, great Champ Car Racing family name, has never had 2 cars finish in the top 10 in the same race, much less a 1-2.
I mean, Australia last year, Dominguez thoroughly uncompetitive and effectively was handed the win just somewhat arbitrarily. There were some reasons behind it on when they stopped the race. Awarded this win in which he was not competitive at all. So that's the team's only career win. If you would have said to me last year that this Herdez team is going to run a legit 1-2, granted there's been some chaos, but a legit earned 1-2, I would have said no way.
On board with Mario Haberfeld. A moment ago, Mario Dominguez was heard to tell his team it's in the fluids, and there's a story behind that. Rather than just drinking fluids orally before a race, Mario prefers to go to the kart medical center and use an IV drip to top off, so to speak. And he's taken some ribbing for it. But he believes in it, he preached it, and today, this weekend, his teammate Roberto Moreno also chose to go to the medical trailer for an IV drip to get ready for the race. Now here they are running 1-2. Dr. Steve Olfey, the Director of Medical Affairs for Championship Auto Racing teams, and his team are going to have to issue numbers. Wait your turn for the IV drip next time we race.
This just in, the Herdez guy's mainline saline solution.
And there is Mika Salo in the Scientific Atlanta car from another first-year team, PK Racing. Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Well, it's certainly been a long season for this team here with Russ Cameron overseeing the operation. Big weekend for you. You did a test with Mika, very successful. Got the car back on track. Second fast on Friday. I know you're disappointed with qualifying, but a great run today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, qualifying, he tagged the wall in his first lap out there, and we felt like we had a top 3 car in qualifying. So circumstances have put us in this position now, and we're going to take advantage of them, we hope.
I know you felt that all of your drivers drivers this year had the speed, but you were really looking for more direction in the setup with the car, and Mika brings that to the table.
Yeah, Mika, I mean, he's so clear and concise. He's just tells it how it is and really nothing else, and it's been great. Really good leadership.
Big change for Mika going to this car. You got a physically changed gear. He's been a bit spoiled over the years in F1. Conditions out there today, what sort of shape is he in?
Well, I think he's in pretty good physical condition, but, you know, he's from Finland, and this is pretty hot here for him, so he's pretty warm out there.
There you have it, boys. We've got about 20 laps to go, and I think we could still see a shake-up here yet.
This could be an amazing finish, and Darren Manning, meanwhile, has not yet pitted. He's got 6 more laps to his pit stop. He's currently running 8th. We'll be back to Miami. Yes. Back in Miami, we are under a full course yellow flag for the 6th time today. As you look at the top 10, Florida rookie Ryan Hunter-Reay has hit the wall back in the Fountain Square area, ending a very difficult weekend for the rookie from Boca Raton. There is Hunter-Reay. Graduated from the elite level of kart's driver development series, the Toyota Atlantic Championship, where he was a title contender a year ago. He got into that outside wall with the left front. They're going to need a tow to get that car out of there.
He didn't hit that hard there, so I'm guessing, and that's a very fast spot, so I'm guessing he got wide and he was in the marbles, and scrubbing out speed, probably wasn't going very fast, but the car just wouldn't turn, being offline.
There's Darren Manning. Before the commercial break, I mentioned that he had one more pit stop to make. He has already made it and is back on track in 8th place, 1 lap down, in line for a rookie record extending 9th straight top 10 finish. Let's meet his car owner with Calvin Fish.
Well, Darren made that pit stop. We're down here with Derek Walker. Derek, we understand there may be a problem now with the car.
Yeah, it looks like third gear might have blown on us, but we're going to give it a shot. And obviously not far to go, but it's obviously not going to go as quick as it was.
Very exciting race. You were certainly working all the strategies there with your boy.
Yeah, we were trying everything to try and make it work, but it's those kinds of races where you got to be up front to win.
Okay, well, maybe you can hang on and try and get it to the checker, but it is doubtful, boys.
Well, I thought there was something wrong with the car. Remember when he was on the lead and all of a sudden started getting passed left and right. Take a look at it. This is when Mario Dominguez and Roberto Moreno came by. Or didn't come by, as the case may be. That's a light driving without third gear around here, TK.
Well, it's not great, especially with a sequential gearbox. I'm not sure how that works if you have to click the handle twice to skip it.
Sequential box means you change gears by simply pushing the lever forward or pulling it back. None of the H patterns familiar to motorists.
If there's an H pattern, you could go from 2nd straight to 4th, and you would have the problem of the big drop in revs, but you wouldn't have to at least put it in 3rd gear for nothing.
Otherwise, the car looks healthy. Hopefully, he can make that 9th straight top 10 finish. While Bruno Junqueira is in 10th place.
I'll tell you what, this is a big deal with this yellow. As much energy as these guys have put out, Mario Dominguez told us yesterday he sweats more than other people. Might be part of why he takes his fluids in the form of IVs. But when your adrenaline stops, we know what happens with adrenaline. Mothers can pull cars off of their sons. When the adrenaline stops under a yellow, you realize how tired you are. Brian, what are they saying down there in their desk pit?
Let's find out. Brian Ma, we were just talking about, Tommy Kendall said, when the adrenaline's going and you're out there on the racetrack, you don't feel the fatigue, but under the yellow, it all comes back to you. Any report from the cockpit?
No, he just say everything's fine. Tell us not to worry. We're good to go.
It's all good down here, guys. There's no problems at all. Car's good?
Yep, no problem.
Driver's good?
Yep.
We're going to win this thing.
I hope so. It's not over yet, but we're trying.
They got their fingers crossed, guys. They're looking for a 1-2.
What a moment that would be for this team.
Maybe when you have your first legit win in sight, the adrenaline doesn't stop under yellow. I mean, all these guys train really, really hard. hard. But this is one of those rare days where it really puts you to the test. The steering is very heavy. And Mika Salo was complaining about being extremely fatigued just past halfway. So I think you're going to see some guys after the checker, and it's something to watch. I mean, if your fluid level drops even 1, 2, 3%, your ability to make decisions drops something in the order of 15 to 20%.
Cycling appears to be the conditioning method of choice, at least for cardiovascular exercise among these drivers. Bruno Junqueira said he spent 3 hours cycling in the noonday sun here in Miami just last week, preparing for this race. Off the corner they come. J.D. Wilbur waves the green flag. We are back underway with 14 laps, make that 13 laps remaining in the race.
And Jimmy Vasser is scrapping again with Mario Haberfeld in 4th place, leading the battle for the top Reynard. Both Vasser and Haberfeld in the maligned Reynard chassis.
But at street course speeds, even though it's a bumpy circuit, and the Reynard chassis apparently does not like those conditions, the speeds are slower, so you're not at a disadvantage in terms of top end. As you look at Darren Manning losing a spot, it was Bruno Junqueira who got by him, I believe. Jimmy Vasser went from 12th to 3rd on these streets a year ago. At Long Beach this year, he started 14th and finished 4th. Today, he started 11th, and now he runs 4th. Down the inside, this is Michel Jourdain, and that is Patrick Carpentier, Paul Tracy's teammate, as Jourdain is trying to fight his way forward. Currently 7th, Carpentier is in 6th. I don't think that's the last we've seen from Michel Jourdain. But as you said earlier about Bruno Junqueira, he has to drive with the big picture in mind. On board with Haberfeld.
Hear that wheel spin when that turbo lights.
Such an important corner. Launching over that bump and onto the straightaway with all the momentum you can muster. He seems to stab that throttle. There will be 10 laps to go next time by, so let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more in just a moment from the streets of Miami, Florida, in the Grand Prix Americas. The Crimson Tide pays a visit between the hedges to battle the Georgia Bulldogs. It all begins with Tim Brando and Spencer Tillman on Olympus College Football today. For more, go to CBSSportsline.com or CBS Sportsline on AOL. Here's a look at our race summary. 8 lead changes among 6 drivers. The average speed just under 75 miles an hour thanks to 6 caution flags for a total of 31 laps. 9 cars out of the race. Very heavy attrition, but again, that's not uncommon on street circuits with these open wheel race cars. 6 laps to go to the checkers next time by. These teams work so hard to find every 10th of a second. In qualifying, they're even looking at lightweight paints to use on the cars. And then, of course, they go out and just thrash them between concrete walls at high speeds. Down to turn 1. Jimmy Vasser still able to keep Mario Haberfeld behind him. There's the race leader, Mario Dominguez, who has opened quite a gap over his teammate Roberto Moreno, now some 3.5 seconds behind. Meanwhile, Darren Manning sadly has called it a day. His run of consecutive top 10 finishes will end at 8th. Let's hear from him.
Well, he led on his debut in England last year. You led again today, Darren. What happened?
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, we had to pit out of sequence. I thought I clipped the wall when we pitted really early. So we kept pitting, but there was nothing wrong. And that put us back up in the lead. So we were looking quite good, especially if there was going to be another yellow at the end there. But I had a really old set of tyres on because we didn't have any others in the pits. We pitted so many times, and I just locked up on the down change as everybody was coming through. So bit of a shame because we'd have probably picked up another top 10 in 8th.
Talk about the conditions. You look pretty hot and sweaty, certainly. I mean, you do that just walking down pit lane here, but talk about the conditions from the driving perspective.
Yeah, it's terrible out there, really. I mean, it's so humid. It's pretty good that there's been some yellow, so you can open the visor a little bit. You use all your drinks bottle, but I'm not too bad. I'm just a bit wet. An early shower.
All right, we saw earlier in the year what he keeps in his refrigerator, Bob, so hopefully he's got some good storage there.
That's right. Darren let us look in his refrigerator, and you can do scientific experimentation on some of the living organisms in there. How about this guy, Roberto Moreno, 44 years young. A couple of victories, a couple of poles. Started this Champ Car racing business back in 1985 with Gallus Racing. He has Formula One experience. He's driven sports cars. For the longest time, he was known as Super Sub. Car owners would go looking for Roberto Moreno when their primary driver went down because they knew he would give them a quality effort. Here's Mika Salo. Great run and only his second start in Champ Cars. 3 laps to go. Jimmy Vasser, the 96 Series champion. Haberfeld hanging tough in 5th. This would be a great run for Jimmy, who's had a lot of rough efforts this year. At the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course, he was an absolute lightning bolt, coming from the back of the field up to the front before spinning off late in the race. Man, what a drive.
Haberfeld starting to apply some pressure to Jimmy. Not close enough to try a move in turn 1.
Behind this group, Michel Jourdain has tried a lunge down the inside of Patrick Carpentier in turn 1 on a couple of occasions. Hasn't been able to get it done. White flag. White flag over Mario Dominguez. We started the day with 19 cars. We have 10 still running. What a glorious moment it will be for this team if they can get a 1-2 finish. It's now called Erdez competition, but it began as Bettenhausen Motorsports back in 1986.
I'd buy dinner for anyone who picked this podium.
Takers? We'll give you TK's phone number. Now is when the demons start to creep up and the driver starts to listen for any strange noise, but it's too late now. Mario Dominguez could coast across the line to his 2nd career victory, and in the minds of many, including perhaps Mario himself, this one was definitely earned. So the corner workers begin their flag dance, a tradition in motor racing. We'll be back to hear from our winners. Stay with us.
It's absolute pandemonium down here for the Erdez team. Mario Dominguez, your 2nd one, but this one is a lot more special than the first, I'm sure.
This is it. We earned it. The team fought hard for it. We did great pit stops. That's what made us go to the lead. We got a little lucky with the accidents in front. And Roberto, my teammate, helped me. We did the first 1-2 for the hardest competition team in history. We are number 1!
We got Roberto here. We got the old boy. You put some pressure on this young man today, but he responded. A great result for the whole team.
Listen, I knew he was going to make it. I just didn't know I was going to be on the podium with him when it happened. It's just fantastic. Great effort for the Erdez competition team. I'm sorry, Enrique, you're not here to celebrate with us, but we'll celebrate for you, don't worry.
Let's try and catch another word here with Mario. Mario, talk about the race. Talk about what happened. I mean, you really pushed hard throughout. You got into a strong position, but there was just a lot of chaos going out there with championship contenders as well.
We knew it was going to be very tough to pass, so we had to save the tires at the beginning, take it easy, and we got lucky. There was a lot of casualties in front of us, but we fought hard for it. Great pit stops. We drove hard the whole race, and what can I say? Our first win this year is unbelievable. Gracias, viva Mexico!
What you saw of Ivan solely on adrenaline. You talked about how much you sweat in these conditions. It's a long, tough day. How tired are you?
Look at me. I'm as if I jump into a pool, and now I got out, but I'm not tired. We just won, so I'm not tired at all. Thank you to Herdes Competition for giving me the opportunity to be in card. We're going to go to Mexico City in a couple of weeks, and we're going to try to get the same result. Thanks to my whole team. Viva Mexico! Viva Herdes!
You hear the noise, Bo. They're excited. Great result for this team.
Acá Mario, sin duda un gran trabajo y no hay nada más dulce.
Mika Salo, you look absolutely exhausted. What a great run for this team, and I know the testing did a lot for you, but the conditions absolutely brutal out there.
It was good. Yeah, team did a good job to get me up back. We were lap down already once, and it was good call to stay out, and it was good run. I had to push absolutely flat out all the way, and it was hot.
Well, halfway through the race, we got a report that you had reported that you were very tired, very hot in the cockpit. Hard to hang on to the second half?
No, it was just hot. Everything else was fine. It's just so hot. When you come from Finland with the ice and snow, you're not used to this.
Well, guys, this is certainly not Finland. Congratulations. What a great job for Mika and the whole PKR team. Bob?
That's right. Their best result in their young history. Third place finish on the podium for Mika Salo. Here's a look at the final results. Mario Dominguez came from 8th to win. That's the biggest move for a winner off the starting grid this year. Great finish for Roberto Moreno. Maybe they'll want to rethink replacing him for the next round at Mexico City. And Jimmy Vasser comes home in 4th place. Those 10 cars you just saw were the only cars running at the finish. Here come the casualties. Darren Manning missed out, but he still is alive in the rookie championship because Sebastian Bourdais failed to clinch today. What a day. Tommy Kendall, your final thoughts on what we saw?
Talk about a seesaw and a roller coaster. I mean, Paul Tracy having trouble. Junqueira looking to make up huge ground, having trouble himself. I mean, there were more twists and turns in this than in an episode of CSI Miami.
And here's what it's all about. The championship. Paul Tracy leads Bruno Junqueira by 13 points with 3 races remaining. Michel Jourdain 33 points out. Patrick Carpentier has been eliminated from the championship. And what a day for the old guys. 2nd place, Roberto Moreno, 44 years young. Mika Salo in 3rd, 36 years old. 4th place, Jimmy Vasser, 37. Well done, guys. And a great weekend here in Miami. The championship will go on and may go down to the very last race of the season. We thank you for joining us. For Tommy Kendall, Brian Till, and Calvin Fish, I'm Bob Varsha, saying so long from Miami, Florida, where Mario Dominguez has won the Champ Car Grand Prix Americas.